Nebraska is 5-1, and wow, what a comeback. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. Bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today.
All right, welcome. It is Saturday evening, coming to you after Nebraska's 34-31 win against Maryland. Connor Happer and Mitch Sherman with you here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast for a little bit of a reaction show. As Mitch said, Nebraska moves to 5-1 on the season. There was portions of this game where you could have convinced me that Nebraska was going to win by 3 touchdowns. There was portions of this game where you could have convinced me Nebraska was going to lose by multiple touchdowns. And in the end, it's a long fourth quarter drive to take the lead and a defensive stand to hold on to it for Nebraska's 3-point win to get them back on the plane and coming. Yeah, 2 fourth quarter drives, right? To get them back on the plane.
Unbelievable.
Coming home happy.
Maybe it's not unbelievable. Maybe this is what we should come to expect from this team. They pulled it off at the end against Cincinnati, and we said, wow, that'll happen once a decade. And then they did it against Michigan State last week. Actually, they got close, way closer than it felt like they should have against Michigan. And then they pulled it off against Michigan State and ran away with that game last week when they looked dead at the end of the third quarter. And here today, twice, the Huskers blow a 10-point lead. Dylan Raiola throws 3 interceptions, a pick 6 in the third quarter. Nebraska seemingly doesn't have confidence in its passing game, which is the bread and butter. Emmett Johnson is running wild, and then they score twice on 2 length of the field drives in the final 8 minutes of the game, including something that we have not seen at Nebraska in a long, long time. A game-winning drive for the offense come from behind when it needed a win. Did you see when the last time it was? I mentioned this on Twitter. I didn't know after the game. I couldn't look it up during the game. The last time Nebraska came from behind to win a game, we'll just say in the final 5 minutes, but on its last possession, when was it?
Oh, yeah, I got the Stumanji graph in front of me. Shout out to the Stumanji Sportsbook. I think we're thinking of the
I hope
same
I'm
game.
right.
2019 Northwestern.
Nah, because the game was tied. The game was tied when Nebraska came. That was the field goal by our man who kicked that field goal. Who kicked the field goal? Lane McCallum kicked the duck that went through the uprights that day. But it was 10-10 when that happened. So previous to that, or the last time that Nebraska was trailing and then came back to win a game, was 2017 Purdue. This is Stanley Morgan catching a pass with 14 seconds left to win at West Lafayette 25-24, and went for 2 and missed it. That was a team that was dead. That was a team that was playing out the string for a coach who's going to be fired, Mike Riley, at the end of that season. It was 3-4 going into that game. It lost its next 4 games to finish 4-8 and gave up 197 points in the process. And all we talked about was Scott Frost. So that was not today. That was not this game at Maryland. This was a game to move Nebraska to 5-1, to move it to 2-1 in the Big Ten, and to do it while Penn State was getting pantsed by Northwestern up in State College, while Indiana was running all over Oregon or beating Oregon. I hardly watched that game. And now I look up at my TV screen and Iowa is ending the Luke Fickell era as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy day in the Big Ten. So 34 games in which Nebraska's had a chance in their final offensive possession to tie or take the lead. So they're down in the game by less than, in a 1-score game. So 8 points or less. dating back to the start of 2018. 34 different games and 38 different opportunities. Some games had 1, 2, or 3 drives. And this is only the second time that Nebraska scored on that final drive and won. It's only the fourth time they've scored. It's the second time they've scored and won. So the
other being the Lane McCallum game.
The Lane McCallum game. I think that is well worth celebrating. Nebraska
did.
Not to say that it's over, and not to say that this, anything like that can't happen again. But like you said, Mitch, it's happened a couple times this year. Of course, it's Nebraska going to be in all these close games and everything like that. It's football, but they are not immune to winning them anymore. And that I think is worth celebrating.
And Nebraska did. I think everybody's seen it on social media now. If you're not on social media, we'll explain what happened. But Nebraska went into the locker room. Perhaps this is when Troy Dannon awarded Kenneth Williams a scholarship, or maybe that was after the celebration. But in some order of events, Nebraska went into the locker room. Kenneth Williams, the walk-on who returned the kickoff 85 yards in the first half, was given a scholarship by the athletic director, which I've never seen before. But in revenue sharing, that's what you can do. You have unlimited scholarships, or at least up to 105. So there you go, Mr. Dannon. And then we'll send the players back out onto the field to celebrate with the fans. And the Nebraska fans had taken the stadium in the fourth quarter. It was not full to begin with. I don't know if this would have been different if Maryland had beaten Washington last week, or if this is just Maryland football, because it's Maryland football in the only times that I've been here to College Park, where the stadium was 35 to 40% empty, and the remaining seats were filled probably about half and half, maybe a slight edge for Maryland. It's hard to both wearing red, but the Nebraska fans were unquestionably louder in the fourth quarter of this game. So much so that the Maryland offense had trouble communicating during the final drive when the freshman Malik Washington, who was great, by the way, but also was a freshman. And you could see on multiple occasions today that he was a freshman. So I don't know if that made the difference in the game. Nebraska made plays to make the difference in the game, but it's good to get this guy as a freshman because he's going to be very, very good in the near future.
Yeah, we all like to point fingers at the end of the game, not in a blameful way, but like you say, okay, why did you win the game today? And the truth is, it's a variety of different things. You need total team efforts to win football games. I think the first thing that people are going to go to is the 21 carries for 176 yards for Emmett Johnson today. He was excellent, shoulder to load offensively, like you said, Mitch. Nebraska's offensive passing game sort of broke down for a great stretch of that game. Dylan Raiola had to struggle through some things, but then came back on his final drive. He hit a couple big plays, but Emmett Johnson was probably the best version of himself. Had a 50-yard run that changed a game. 21 for 176.
What was that run?
Was unbelievable.
That run was insane. I mean, it looked like he was running against. I'm not even going to downgrade Maryland on that. He looked like Johnny Rodgers in 1971 out there on that run with his change of direction and stop and go. And he weaved so many times, like he had made a quilt by the end of that thing. That was Emmett Johnson like we've never seen Emmett Johnson before. We talked about Emmett Johnson seemingly every other podcast all throughout the offseason. And as many people mentioned, like, why are you guys hating on Emmett Johnson? Like, we've time and time again just kind of said he's a good back. We think he's a good back. Yeah, he's worthy of getting some carries. Not today. Man, he was one of the best backs in the Big Ten, if not the country, the way that he ran today. That's a decent defense that Maryland put out there. Their rushing defense numbers are no joke, and he shredded them.
Yeah, and Nebraska, I mean, if you want to continue to dovetail off of that, a lot of consternation this week about the offensive line, and Maryland came in leading the conference in sacks, and those two ends are really good. They hold Dylan Raiola upright for almost the entire game. He's got plenty of time to throw the football. Dylan made some mistakes on his own accord, which we're going to obviously get to in this game, but the offensive line answered the bell today as well. And Emmett Johnson ran for 176 behind him, and Nebraska ran for almost 200 as a team behind those guys. So excellent day for that group as well to answer it. But like I said, the truth is, you need everything in order to win games like this, and that's it's not going to be the last time they need that.
And they got it. They got special teams from Kenneth Williams. Corey Barney had a nice return to put Nebraska in at least out of the shadow of the goal line to start the last drive. Kyle Cunanan did his job. They did their job on kickoffs. Archie Wilson just got into punt once, and Archie's got to work. He shanked it. So 0 for 1 for Archie Wilson, but he's going to rebound from that. He's a freshman. Yeah, the defense did their thing. Made a play at Deshaun Singleton made a play at the end to if that pass is completed, and Singleton, it was maybe a hair behind the receiver, but Singleton dove and made a great play on 4th and 4. If the receiver catches that pass, I don't know that he's going to score. There was as a defender or two
on Maryland's last offensive play.
Yeah,
it was too high. It was a bad throw. It was far too high. So it was just a bad throw by Washington, but that was kind of a freshman mistake, I think, that he made. That's the way I saw it anyway.
The intentional grounding was a mistake for sure from him also on that drive. He ran out of bounds once when he could have got a first down, but as we said, he's a good player. Let's say one thing about the offensive line before we take a break. You can nitpick and you can say there were a couple of false starts. There was a holding penalty on Pritchett when he got beat, and it was at a bad time because it was in the fourth quarter when Nebraska needed to score, and they were able to overcome that holding penalty. But if he doesn't hold there, Raiola probably gets sacked. They moved to the line of scrimmage against the Maryland defensive front. Nebraska won at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, even though Maryland did run it better than expected in the second half. Nebraska won at the line of scrimmage when it mattered, I would say, on both sides in this game.
I think so too. All right, let's take a break. We'll talk about Dylan Raiola's day. It wasn't pretty, but did get the drive to go at the end of the day. We'll be back after this.
A quick word now from Peloton, which is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus powered by Peloton IQ. This is their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move your body, whether you're running, lifting, cross-training, working with your favorite instructors, whatever it is. This is training reimagined. It's Peloton, which is built for breakthroughs, with the tools here that help you plan and stay motivated and to reach your peak performance. The swivel screen, it's a game changer. You can go from running on the tread to strength training without missing a beat. And the personalized class recommendations keep you always engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe, your energy. Peloton learns your habits and then comes to deliver them to you. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Enjoy the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Okay, welcome back. Saturday night episode, reaction pod. Nebraska beats Maryland 34-31, and it didn't even take overtime. We did think for a few moments there at the end of the game that overtime was destined, and then we were really going to learn something about whether Nebraska has taken a step as a program.
Yep, luckily didn't need it though. Got the defensive stop that they needed at the end of the game. Let's talk about Dylan Raiola's day. All right, so here's the stat line: 20 and 29, 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Still completes 69% of his passes. Obviously, Nyziah Hunter had a great day, catching a couple touchdowns, taking a long one in the first quarter. 5 catches for 125. Dane Key got back involved, 4 catches for 43. A quiet day, maybe one of the quietest days for Corey Barney in the receiving game. Although he was involved late on Nebraska's last drive. So, and then Lyndon Meyer had 2 catches for 30 yards, and that was the kind of extent of the receiving game outside of the running backs. So the 3 interceptions are going to jump out at you. Obviously, I guess it wasn't back breaking theoretically because Nebraska didn't have their back broken in this game, but the pick 6 was pretty avoidable. And it's obviously one he wants back. I think he wants them all back, obviously, but that was a tough throw. The other 2, I mean, they're pretty tight windows and all that stuff. I guess, what did you think about Dylan's day and the way he handled some of his struggles this afternoon?
Yeah, the day is going to be defined by the way he finished it and the plays that he made on the final 2 drives. Nebraska got behind the sticks a couple of times on the drive where Emmett had the 50-yard run they did in a field goal, and that was not a clean drive, but they were able to make something out of it and get points and not have to punt and put themselves in a position where they gave up the ball down 10 points. And the final drive, Matt Rhule and Dane Holgerson have talked a lot about how they want Dylan to just make routine plays. There was nothing routine about several of the plays that he made on that last drive. The first play of the drive, Nebraska was at the 19-yard line. He was getting chased around in the backfield, had to roll out to his right, and he found Luke Lindenmeyer for a nice gain, 20-plus yards to get them out in good field position over the 40-yard line. The play that he made down the sideline and on the opposite side of the Nebraska sideline, he tripped and was able still to have the wherewithal to loft the ball up to Hunter, who was open. That was a 33-yard gain. The 10-yard ball along the Nebraska sideline that he threaded the needle after running around to Heinrich Harburg that got Nebraska down to the 3 was a thing of beauty and put in only the only spot where it would work. And Harburg, I believe, caught that with one hand and kept a foot in bounds. So there you go, NFL scouts. Look at that guy in the room he has to grow. And the pass to Dane Key, the 3-yard touchdown, as Matt Rhule said after the game, if it's 6 inches more to the inside, it's probably picked off. And he put it right there for Dane Key to make that catch and just fall back into the end zone. So Raiola was magnificent on that last drive. He was not magnificent on the interceptions or at other times in the game. The second pick, he's got to throw that out of bounds. Like, he's got to throw it six rows deep into the seats, and he knows that. I'm not sure about the pick 6 and exactly what happened there. It was Cortez Mills, so a younger receiver, and it looked like perhaps Mills ran a route and went the wrong way off at the end of the route. Either way, they were out of communication and it was not executed well.
Yeah, I like to see this version of Dylan. I mean, obviously you don't like to see the 3 interceptions. Nebraska's done a really good job of protecting the football this year. But we've talked about it on this podcast a lot, Mitch. I think sometimes he is overly risk averse, just for the express purpose of not turning the football over. And I think Nebraska, as it gets a little bit, or as it attempts to get a little bit more explosive on the defensive side of the ball and make some plays there, I'm okay with unleashing him a little bit. Like his throw to Lindenmeyer in the back of the end zone in the first half that threaded somehow over the top of a linebacker's fingertips and then right in the perfect spot. I mean, it's perfect. And I don't think, I don't think he makes that throw if we don't have this version of him today. So yeah, you get the 3 picks, and I think there will be a lot of conversation about him this week. But he was pretty dang good again, with knowing that people are listening to this and they're thinking, yeah, but he threw 3 interceptions. Like I get it, I know, but maybe this version of him doesn't throw 3 interceptions all the time, and you get this great ceiling that he is starting to sort of unravel and unlock.
This was the gunslinger version of Dylan Raiola. Even the play that was called back, he had a 5th touchdown that was called back, one to Dane Key in the first half, where Emmett Johnson was flagged for offensive pass interference on, I think everyone agrees, a terrible call. Emmett was running a route on the play, and he ran into a DB who happened to be in the area. I don't think that's offensive pass interference. I think it's 2 players running into each other.
Yeah, I guess I don't know.
If he's intending it, there's got to be some intent there. Like if he's, or even he, you could call it defensive pass interference if you wanted to say that Emmett was a potential target on the play. I think you have to eat the flag on that one. But that would have been that was another nice throw from Dylan that should have resulted in a touchdown. I think I'll I'll defer to like an officiating expert, but I have heard from some people who agreed with me that was an awful call. There were oohs and ahs from the crowd and from the inside the press box from some of the media today with a few of the throws that Raiola made. He made throws, clearly the kind of throws that you just haven't seen from Nebraska quarterbacks, and you know, we've seen them periodically when the Huskers have faced NFL bound QBs. They happen. It's not like he's completely unique in being able to make the throws that he did today, but they were big league, big time throws, and Nebraska needed every one of them to get out of there with a 3-point win. And if you're sweating the 3-point win, man, look around the Big Ten. Look what's going on in this league, because it's as balanced and crazy and up and down as certainly the Big Ten has ever been.
That is a great place to put a pin in it. And why don't we just come back and discuss that for a few minutes, and we can clean up a couple spare thoughts on this one as well. Once again, Nebraska wins at 34-31. It's our reaction show. We'll be back after this on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. But first, a message from our friends from Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner. Sorry, we're getting the green screen a whole lot, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When the neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives as well. Local neighborhood spots in every neighborhood come alive each weekend, whether it be during football games, college on Saturday, or the NFL. Plenty of places in Lincoln who use Square. You'll see it in just about every local spot that you go to. So it's great to support them. And as you do that, you're, of course, supporting Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spots. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. And also a word from our friends at the FanDuel Sportsbook. As you're listening to this, maybe you are getting ready to take in all the NFL action on a Sunday. FanDuel is going to make sure you are ready to go. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So it's fantastic on a day where you go wall-to-wall football on Sunday or Saturday in college football as well. We are in the stretch right now of 50 straight days of football, so there's going to be reasons for you to have the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Download it now. Bet on those anytime touchdown scores, those same game parlays, those live bets. Get them going right now. Download the app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel.com, and place your first $5 bet today. As you mentioned, Mitch, as we welcome you back here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast, it was a wild, or is a wild, Saturday.
Still is.
The Big Ten Conference, although maybe wild in a different way for Wisconsin, who is, at the time of me reading this, is down 37-0 to Iowa. That is not going to.
How does that happen?
Well,
I don't even know how. Iowa. This is mind blowing to me. I haven't watched any of the game. Yeah, Mark Gronowski's thrown for 107 yards in this game.
Turnovers.
Iowa's run it for 206 at the point. Turnovers, is that what's doing it?
Yeah, I saw one. I turned it off when they were up. I think it was 17-0. They had a turnover already, and yeah, I mean it's just totally unraveled. It's a program that is very good at the details against a program that used to be, and it's not anymore. So there is that score. We're watching Michigan and USC. They're at the end of the third quarter at the time of taping this. USC is 2-touchdown lead, so that's fascinating. But before we get too far out of our skis in front of those games, I mean, we have finals in the books. Indiana is a legit, bona fide, like top 5 team in America, and they beat Oregon on the road, like by 10 points today, 30-20. And I got to start eating a lot of crow. I mean, this is unbelievable.
Where are they going to be ranked tomorrow?
I mean, 3. 4 at the worst.
Yeah.
That's
incredible. That's incredible.
The best win in America. They have the best win in the country right now.
You're right. Okay. How about this score? Northwestern 22, Penn State 21. That one comes across your screen.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So Matt Rhule was going out of the media room today, and I said, "Hey, congrats, thanks." I was standing by the door because I was the last person in, and I said, "Did you see the Big Ten scoreboard today?" And he said, "No, I haven't seen anything." And I told him that Penn State lost, and his eyes got as big as the lens on a big flashlight. Just because of how shocking it is that Penn State lost to Northwestern on this day. So
at home. Well, and speaking,
there are going to be reverberations around the country.
Yeah, it's they're 3-3, they're 0-3 in the Big Ten. Drew Aller's out for the season; he's done. And it is total mayhem, chaos at Penn State. I mean, I don't know what comes next.
They have a decision to make. They can either just eat it and take this season for what it is, a disaster, and devote all of their resources to moving on with James Franklin in charge and say, you got to reboot this thing. You have built a foundation. You know how to recruit. We are putting $750 million into improving the stadium. Let's get behind James Franklin and let's do it. Or they have to cut the cord because they determine that this is a symptom of something larger and they are not going to be able to make this thing work moving forward with him. And somebody has to be out there who can come in and do it better than him. It's not just about, we have to make a change because it's time to make a change. We're 0-3 in the Big Ten. Who are you going to get? It's not going to be the guy coaching at Nebraska. I'll say that until I'm proven wrong because it happened, or I have reason to believe that something has shifted in the minds of people who will make that decision. I just don't think it's going to happen. I've heard some speculation maybe about Brent Key, the Georgia Tech coach, but that's just that's not founded in anything at this point. I don't know. I don't know what Penn State is going to do, but it's a mess there.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
I don't know. We don't need to have this full blown discussion right now, but I don't know. Like you said, I don't know what it's going to look like for Penn State over the next several weeks of this season. Maybe they could get it back on track to a reasonable point. I mean, they're not going to the playoff, obviously, at this point. That was the bare minimum expectation for this team. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then, one more score that we can bring you. UCLA, the team that scored the monumental upset last week, went in the road and beat the hell out of Michigan State today. They were soundly in front. It was 38-7, all the way until the fourth quarter, and Michigan State got 6 more out of it. So 38-13 was your final, and Michigan State looks like they might be off the rails a little bit, and UCLA is all of a sudden 2-1 in the league with a 2-4 record. Watch out for the Bruins.
It should be ranked based on the last 2 weeks. I mean, are you ranking the teams for how they are today, their strength today, or are you just basing it on the entire season and what their resume is? Different people rank in different ways, and who cares? But will Nebraska be ranked on Sunday? What do you think?
My gut says no. I guess, but what, they were 29 this week. I mean, maybe enough teams lost. I guess I'm not exactly.
You got to look at what happened at the bottom of the poll, and
I haven't done the math on that one yet.
Here's another score. We'll finish up here in a few minutes, but we need to talk about what's ahead for Nebraska. And Nebraska keeps on track its quest to have a perfect month of October. And despite Northwestern winning at Penn State today, I don't know that I view that game in 2 weeks, Nebraska-Northwestern, all that much different. I think today in State College was more about what's going on with Penn State than it is Western turning its season around. So, yeah, I mean, you have to be wary of that game, like any Big Ten game in 2 weeks. But now Nebraska's 2-0, and Minnesota, as we speak, is losing at home against Purdue. Gophers might pull this one out. Either way, this is not vintage Minnesota. They are vulnerable when Nebraska goes to Minneapolis on Friday night. So Nebraska can get bowl eligible. Nebraska can certainly get ranked if it's not ranked right now. Nebraska within one win of being at that place, which is somewhat remarkable. 7-1 heading into the USC game in November.
Yeah, Nebraska is going to have to do the same things that they've done to win the last two games. You know, it's going to be close. I have Minnesota could have lost to Purdue by 30 today, and I would have said we're headed for a close game in Minneapolis on Friday, because I just believe we are. And I think that's those two programs, and I think they feel a certain way about each other, and I think they have different styles, and they have the same recruiting footprint and all that stuff. Like, I think we're headed for a close game no matter what, and I think we're probably headed for a relatively close game against Northwestern. So Nebraska, absolutely, just because they can now say, oh, well, we have this fourth quarter comeback win now, we can actually do it. It does not mean that they could let their foot off the pedal. I mean, they are still ripe for the picking. I mean, they could lose both of these next two games, and then all of a sudden you're back off the rails just with everybody else. So Nebraska gonna have a chance. They're gonna have a chance. They got to hold serve in these next two for sure.
Yeah, I think that they like the position that they're in. This is not your Nebraska program that PJ Fleck and Northwestern and a little later down the road, Kirk Ferentz grew up pointing a finger at in the week leading up to the game and saying, if you guys just go out and do your job, they are going to beat themselves. Because that's the way that Fleck has coached against Nebraska. It's the way Northwestern has played against Nebraska. It's the way has beaten Nebraska year after year. Let them beat themselves. And this is not a team that is playing in that way. Yeah, there were 3 interceptions today. I get it. But something is different about this Nebraska team in 2025. Otherwise, it wouldn't be 5-1 after the games that we've seen.
Hey, they were 5-1 last year. I mean, I agree with you for the record. I agree with you, but they are not above losing. They are just not above losing these games. I'm convinced of that. I'd be shocked if Nebraska just won running away in each of their next two games. It's going to be 7 points, 3 points, 10 points in these next two games, and they got to find a way to get it done. I think they have the tools to. They've shown it the last 2 weeks, so you got to do it 2 more times and then regroup from there.
All right. No, I mean that's the Big Ten. If you win a game by more than 10 points and you're not Ohio State or Indiana, then you had a special week, and you don't count on those too often. Okay, we're going to get out of here. I hope everybody's listening and viewing experience has been better than mine, sitting here in my hotel room with a bright light flashing in my face and spotty internet. I heard most of what Connor had to say today, but not everything. So let's just hope it comes out better on all the podcast listening platforms and on YouTube. So we will be back with the regular episode. I'll be out of the DMV. I'm going to go get myself some good food. I've had some good food while here. Maybe we'll discuss that a bit on the show on Monday. We will preview what Matt Rhule might say to the media when the Huskers start a short week ahead of their trip to Minnesota. And then we're going to hear from everybody all over again. Rhule on Monday, the coordinators and players on Tuesday. Thank you tonight, today, this afternoon, whenever it is that you're listening to this reaction show, for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big Ten. Craig Sheeman breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.